It's a steep educational curve. That's why I say that the events of the fall, 2012, were huge for a lot of people. Anybody who lived in any of the boroughs of New York, I mean, come and see. I mean, thousands, I've been obsessed with it, and so have my students, thousands and thousands of photographs we've peeled through. We've gone there, we've interviewed, we've talked, we've done field study and photographs. Just of one place, Staten Island. And I know people living in the Rockaways and Long Island and everywhere. These were life-changing and shocking events. If you don't know where Staten Island is, it's never been there, it's a little hard to get your mind around it. For us, it's not such a leap, but for a great many people, it's huge. But because you asked me, well, what was sustainable design? Environmental, care for the planet, yes, but that's sort of remote. People, that's what it is. And that's what this thing is about that I'm doing. Green Week. But it wasn't until I was on my own that I really got involved in the whole materials thing. And when I was hired a couple years after I graduated, Pratt asked me, would you teach here? And I said, why not? I love to teach. So I began right away. And the then head of department, Mark Harlan, he decided I was going to be the Green Maven. He helped me to go to a first environmental conference in Dallas and in Austin, Texas, Greenbelt, and I had been going for a few years to various ones around the country. I ended up in Montreal, all the way to the Southwest, in Washington State, all over the place. I love the trade fairs, and I love the bus rides to sites where people were trying to do something really sustainable. You're part of life in a profound way. You're part of the earth. I think that a good teacher educates not only the students, but you educate your clients and people in the profession. I'm always doing it, one way or the other. I started in when it was just like 5 to 10 people around a table at the most. And we meet on a monthly basis. And the idea was, how are we going to educate the campus? So I used to joke that around the table, as it grew to 30, 35 people, there were a bunch of refugees from every department in Pratt. Seriously, one here, one there. Oh God, they think I'm a freak. It's ridiculous. What does this mean? But I found that students caught on pretty well. We started with Green Weeks, and I began it in this department. It was 2007. And then in 2008 was sort of a turning point because I had set up the Terrian Gallery, which had just been opened. So I brought in Al Gore's film and a whole bunch of other stuff that hadn't been shown and began putting it together, worked with facilities. They built all kinds of pedestals and stuff for student work, and we got students trying to make we did a lot of models here, and make their projects green, and they had to figure out what that meant. And of course it means air and light and circulation and sight and a million things which has nothing to do with carpet on the floor, but it has to do with the whole thing, which is what is important. And so gradually the exhibits spread out into the halls, and now we have the whole lobby, and now the interiors department is a major mover in all of this, and Tetsuo Ohara took over what I had been starting, and he's been doing a brilliant job in sort of coordinating all over campus. It's been growing, but the main thing is to educate the public, starting with faculty and students.
So my name's Deb Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Sustainable Design Studies, also known as CSDS.
Okay.
My name is Tetsuo Ohara. I'm a visiting assistant professor for interior design and also a coordinator for Pratt Environmental Coalition. This is my 5th year coordinating a Green Week, and how it started was just a quick opportunity. There was a group of people who wanted to get together and make invisible visible, something that is hidden underneath our department. There were a lot of students and faculty getting involved with the sustainable concerns, but it never really came surfaced. So my interest was to find a venue to be able to open that up, to be able to display, share, and communicate, and send the message. So the Green Week was available through Sustainable Pratt, and it wasn't my project, but it used to be run by Tony Gelber and Carol Crawford, and I took on afterwards.
I think that sustainability more and more has become a critical part of the dialogue for creative professionals. You can't get away from thinking about the consequences of what you're doing. And so as people who are choosing materials, attracting people to products, bringing our daily lives sort of to us, we're the objects of the culture, more and more we're thinking about what the implications are of the choices that we're making about that. And I think the industry is following.
The quality of sustainable integration in their design studio has gone up. Not just the recycled material, daylighting, there is a whole level of sophisticated integration of design. So we're really happy to see that level cultivated in the students. And I think what's happening is because the students are exposed to good examples out there, outside of Pratt.
I think when people think about sustainability in sort of your daily life, you think about recyclability and maybe reusing materials and that sort of thing. But rarely does the public, I think, get access to kind of the creative thinking, the vision for the future that's created by our architects and our designers and our artists. And so what it does, I think, is open the door to getting excited about what sustainability can be, rather than what we're used to, which is really sort of this being told we can't do this and stop doing that. It really creates an image and a vision for an incredible future. And I think that's critical. Well, I think on some level it starts with children. So when people have children, like when Ray Anderson, who is just a guru around sustainability from Interface Carpet, realized that his children were coming into a world that was going to be damaged by all of the industrial production that he himself was doing in his own business, that changed his mind. So you often hear people talk about children being the thing that changed their minds. And then you have children that have been brought up with these values that are going out there, and it's just been a part of how they've been brought up. And so they naturally go that direction. And then you have people who see that there's a business to be made in doing it and connecting values to actually good business. And it's just all, it's a complex system. It doesn't come, I don't think, from one place, but really comes from everywhere.
All right. I think that was really great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Anytime. Good luck.
Okay. That was really great. Thank you so much for talking to us.
It was a real mentor for me, who really made me understand that we need to be thinking about not just what we're designing, but the consequences of what we're designing, and that we have to make that a critical part of the conversation. Now there's a lot of work in fashion that's being done, not only around materials, but around how things are produced.
Now, over the last 5 or 6 years, I actually reject this argument. That pace of change is all designed, and it's man-made. It's not some inviolable truth about fashion that can't change. It is actually something that we can change.
Master Tufan Rafak, this guy changed my life, and this is a little book that Gandhi used to travel with, because he also promoted natural dyes, and nobody knows this. It's cotton, and when it's dipped in the indigo, it starts to turn light grade of yellow, green, blue, and it's really ugly. So it's certified organic cotton, certified dyes, and the whole process, the loom, the spinning, everything's certified. I had no idea there was organic cotton. They had to educate me totally. And they said, if you want to work with us, you have to wear the clothing. Otherwise, you won't understand what we're talking about. Hand woven in jail in Mexico, prison. Somebody told me, you don't say jail, say prison. It's the same. This is a program that exists in Mexico, and it's actually happening everywhere. There are programs in Italy, in Germany. So fashion is a concept that designs a garment considering ecological and social impact during its life cycle, including the carbon footprint. All of this. We make it simple, no? It's not so simple, but we try.
So, good afternoon. My name is Kate Zeider, and I'm a master composter. I've basically been focused on waste and water. I kind of am maintaining my involvement with composting for 2 reasons, and one is because it's good for the ecology of a watershed. It improves soils and their ability to absorb water, and also because it helps diversify the waste stream in a way that could keep tonnage out of trucks that rumble in and out of neighborhoods like those around Newtown Creek. So basically, compost is the food part of soil. So soil is typically made up of structural material and organic material, and then void space. The material that we put in, the material that's most available to them has a lot of surface area that they can get at. They're not going to like tunnel into something that's dense, you know? So things need to be cut up. And things that they're going to get to are going to be soft. So for example, like coconut. And there is actually a grain to paper. And if you tear it with the grain, then you get these elegant spaghetti things. If you tear it against the grain, then you typically get chunks and very little spaghetti. But they probably shouldn't be composted indoors in your apartment because they're more complicated chemically than vegetable material. They take longer to break down, and as I said before, time is the enemy. The longer it takes to break down, the more putrescible it potentially is. So putrescible waste, I think I used that earlier, putrescible waste is waste that stinks. And putrescence is the ultimate enemy of composting. If it takes too long to break down, it will smell. And so it's basically, that's what you're trying to avoid. So stick to vegetarian worms with like ovo-vegetarian worms. Because they, in nature, they live at the top layer of the soil. And so that makes them perfect for container living because other species need to be very cool and they will go tunneling deep. So there's the earth turners. For the purposes of this experiment, you should feed the worms anything that came from a plant. That's really a great material for outside. For bacteria, because it's nice and fine bacteria. But here, it just turns into like. Would you like me to just dump it in?
Yeah, dump them.
Wait. Oh, sorry. Needs to really break down.
So I didn't see him, I just was off.
And newspaper is basically wood that's just been shredded.
One of these workshops, just like today's, is to deliver sort of a technology that you can all go on and do in your homes or in your other project.